Hello, our gospel comes from the Gospel of St. Mark. King Herod heard about Jesus, for his fame had become widespread, and people were saying, John the Baptist has been raised from the dead. That is why mighty powers are at work in him. Others were saying he is Elijah. Still others, he is a prophet like any of the prophets. But when Herod learned of it, he said, It is John whom I beheaded. He has been raised up. Herod was the one who had John arrested and bound in prison on account of Herodias, the wife of his brother Philip, whom he had married. John had said to Herod, It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. Herodias harbored a grudge against him and wanted to kill him, but was unable to do so. Herod feared John, knowing him to be a righteous and holy man, and kept him in custody. When he heard him speak, he was very much perplexed, yet he liked to listen to him. Herodias had an opportunity one day when Herod on his birthday gave a banquet for his courtiers, his military officers, and the leading men of Galilee. His own daughter came in and performed a dance that delighted Herod and his guests. The king said to the girl, Ask of me whatever you wish, and I will grant it to you. He even swore many things to her. I will grant you whatever you ask of me, even to half of my kingdom. She went out and said to her mother, What shall I ask for? Her mother replied, The head of John the Baptist. The girl hurried back to the king's presence and made her request. I want you to give me at once on a platter the head of John the Baptist. The king was deeply distressed, but because of his oaths and the guests, he did not wish to break his word to her. So he promptly dispatched an executioner with orders to bring back his head. He went off and beheaded him in the prison. He brought in the head on a platter and gave it to the girl. The girl in turn gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard about it, they came and took his body and laid it in a tomb. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Today's Gospel, we hear Mark's account of John the Baptist's beheading. We hear that Herod has found himself in a situation in which he does something incredibly awful. We ask ourselves, how can it be that Herod gets to this place? Certainly, we could reflect upon the fact that Herod has much unchecked sin in his life. But I think what is interesting is ultimately the reason that Herod commits this atrocity, the reason he orders the execution of John the Baptist, is because he is much more concerned with pleasing those folks who are in front of him at this party. He feels like he has backed himself into a corner, that he's made this oath that he'll do whatever this girl asks. Then when she asks for something that is truly ridiculous, something that is truly awful, he feels as if he has no choice, because he doesn't want to be seen as someone who breaks his oaths, as someone who doesn't do what he says he's going to do, because he wants to impress these people. And because that is where his heart is, because that is who he believes he needs to impress above all others, he commits this atrocity. And of course, we see from the rest of the folks at the party that not one of them stand up to say, this is ridiculous, this is absurd, we shouldn't be doing this. But instead, they look on. They too concerned with what others might think if they stand up and speak the truth. And I think this serves as a reminder for us that when we don't seek to please God above all things, to do what is right above all things, that sometimes we can find ourselves in very tricky situations. Sometimes we can find ourselves doing truly awful things because we desire the approval of others before God. So this day, let us dedicate ourselves to seeking to please God before all others, so that our lives might be well ordered, so we might not find ourselves in the situation of King Herod doing something that we will later regret. God bless.